In the same year, he became chieftain Magor, met with Iraj, king and namesake of Iran, and a member of the Pishdadian dynasty, who wanted to make an alliance with the nomads. In exchange for martial support, Iraj gave one of his daughters to Magor as a wife. By this, Pishdadian princess Magor fathered 5 sons: Bath, born 3067 BC; Ibath, born 3065 BC; Barachan, born 3063 BC; Emoth, born 3062 BC; Aethecta, born 3061 BC; Lubal, born 3060 BC. Magor lived the rest of his life in Iran, living on lands Iraj gave to him, dying in 3023 BC. Of his sons, Bath, Ibath, and Lubal were the only ones to father descendants. Of Lubal emerged the Scythian people through his descendant Scythes, born from Heracles, and an Iranian noblewoman of Lubal's line in the 13th century BC. Ibath's son, Alan, would move into Europe as a young man and settle in what is today Italy, marrying a local woman and fathering 3 sons, Hission, Armenon, and Nege. Through his sons, Alan became an ancestral father to a myriad numbers of peoples, some of which include the Italians, French, slaves, and English. Bath became chieftain of the Gaedi, as the tribe of Japheth was now known, and fathered 1 son, Farsa, with an Iranian wife, in 3021 BC. One distinguishing feature of Bath's reign as chieftain was his willingness to allow his son to be educated at the Iranian royal court, and thanks to this, Farsa became fluent in several different languages, including Egyptian. The boy grew up into a man of learning, deciding to devote himself not to warfare, but to scholarship. It is unknown when Bath died, but by 3000 BC Farsa was chieftain of the Gaedi, father of a son named Nel, and led his people into Sumeria, where he heard of a great tower being built, known to us today as the Tower of Babel, in Babylon. Here, Farsa studied the different languages of the people gathered across the Middle East and Europe while they worked on the tower, which his son Nel helped to build. When the tower collapsed due to faulty foundations in 2999 BC, Farsa, taking the best pieces of every language he studied both in Sumeria and while in Iran, created the Ogham alphabet, and with it, the Gaelic language. Following this creation, Farsa dubbed his people Gaels and led them into Egypt, where the pharaoh, Jair, grandson of Narma, first king of Egypt and himself son of Ham, wished to hire him for his language expertise. Farsa spent the rest of his life in Egypt, dying at an unknown date. But before his death, he rose through the early Egyptian court system and was a valued member of Jair's retinue, so much so, in fact, that Nel was able to marry a daughter of the pharaoh, her original name unknown, but known to later Gaelic tradition as Scota. Together, the couple had 2 sons, Goidel, born 2997 BC, and Gaethalos, born 2996 BC. Nel, like his father, was a professional linguist and spent his life studying ancient Greek, Egyptian, and other languages he encountered, dying prematurely in 2990 BC. Once her husband was gone, Scota took upon herself the leadership of the Gaels, and once her sons were grown, she, fearing Egypt would not be hospitable to them much longer, decided to migrate. Gaethalos, however, chose to remain behind, and a small band with him. The main body of the Gaels, under Scota's chiefship, sailed from Egypt and travelled for many months until finally, by chance, they landed in Ireland. Ireland by this time was led by the descendants of Cessair who, understandably, didn't take too kindly to these new arrivals. A battle near what is today the town of Tralee, County Kerry, in the Republic of Ireland, was fought between the Gaels and the people of Cessair, with the former prevailing, but at a cost. Scota, leading her people from the front, fought bravely and well, but somehow she was knocked from her horse midway through the fight. As she tried to remount, she was stabbed through the stomach, her life snuffed out. The 2 sides came to a truce following the battle, whereby the Gaels were permitted to settle among their distant relatives, and thus, this is how the first of their people would settle in the Emerald Isle, but they weren't the last.